Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
In a world where Big Pharma writes the script, it's time to believe. Biohack. Become.
We're here to explore the truth about healing that exists outside the broken medical system, give you the knowledge, the community, and the strategies you need to become the hero of your own health story.
Your guide is a biohacking entrepreneur, a near-death survivor, and a cancer warrior navigating his own healing journey. Founder of BiohackingVille, Exodus Strong and QE Strong. Your host, Rob Rene. This is Biohackingville, where the medical system has failed us. One man is leading the rebellion to reclaim.
Hey. Welcome to the BiohackingVille podcast. This is your host, Rob Rene, and today's going to be pretty exciting in the respect that this is going to be the beginning, right? Like the Genesis. I'm calling it the Genesis arc because what I am doing is resetting the whole expectation for what I'm trying to do with BiohackingVille. And I'm very excited to walk through my strategy and why I'm doing it and how I'm doing it. And so today's going to be, you're going to learn a lot about me as a person and why am I doing what I am doing. I believe at the literally core of my being that God has trained me to be this person that I am today and that I am presenting to you and to the world. And I really believe this is the mission he has me on. And I wouldn't say that if I didn't mean it. And it literally is something that I could just feel at the core of my being that this is what he has trained me since I was a young boy all the way up to now, in the skill sets that he's given me, the things that he's trained me, and the things that have just happened in my life, which, things, in my opinion, don't just happen. They're all learning experiences. And my gosh, has he really trained me in a lot of different areas. So I want to kind of walk through what that is and kind of who I am. And then I'm going to go through kind of the Genesis arc. I'm going to explain the first trilogy, the first 3 episodes that are going to make up BiohackingVille. BiohackingVille is a specific strategy that I have. And there's a lot of things that go into this strategy and how I believe, the mission that he's given me, that I am working hard to make a difference in the world. That's literally all that matters to me anymore is making a difference. So to back up, I'm gonna just start and kind of give you an overview of Rob Rene and who I am. I talk about these stories quite often when I'm on other people's podcasts. I'll get on a podcast and we'll talk about my origin story and how things happened in my life and then what I'm doing today. So I thought this would be really appropriate to kind of just reset the stage for all my listeners here at BiohackingVille. So if people find this podcast, they're going to come back to this original episode and say, okay, who is this dude? And why am I listening to him? So this is going to be the foundation. The foundation of BiohackingVille starts today. So who is Rob Rene? I started off as obviously as a young boy, and I ended up growing up in was born and raised in Pocatello, Idaho, a really small town in southeast Idaho, and I really grew up as a baby in the respect that I was the baby of 2 older brothers. So my other middle brother's 4 years older than I, and my oldest is 7 years older than I was. So I was always the runt and but I was also the baby. My brothers teased me as I was the spoiled one. But the reason that's important is, I was, as a young kid, into athletics. So sports were really important to me. And just being the youngest of 2 older brothers, right, I always learned how to do sports and things through them. And so early on in my childhood, running was one of the things that I just excelled at. I love basketball and all different types of sports, but running was one of the things I just excelled at, that I was better at than other things. So why that's important, I think, is super relevant to what I'm doing today. In the respect that, running, I think God gave me a natural talent to run, which I think was important. But the fun thing about that is how I got into running. My brother Rick was 4 years older than I, and he was going to do one of those fun runs on the weekend. And my mom was taking him out to the fun run, and she's like, "Hey, Rob, we're gonna go, watch Rick do his run today." And so I'm like, okay. So I go with my mom, and I'm a young kid, probably 6 years old, and I'm just in normal jeans and tennis shoes and a shirt, and we're at the start of this 10K race, and all of a sudden I see this little boy about my age in a singlet and running shorts and running shoes, and he was warming up and getting ready to do the race. And I looked at my mom, and I tugged her blouse and said, "Hey, look, is he running?" And she's like, "Yeah, I guess he's running." And so a few minutes before the race, I asked my mom, I said, "Hey, can I run the race?" And she looked at me really surprised, and it's like, "You're in jeans and you don't have any running." I said, "I don't care. I'm going to go try it." So I step up to the line, and gun goes off, and all these hundreds of people go on this 10K is what it was. And I'd never run a lick, let alone run a 10K, right? But long story short, I ended up beating that young boy during that 10K. And I'll never forget that. I was like, I saw him, and he looked like the epitome of running, right? This young kid, he'd trained, he'd been doing it for a while. And I ended up beating that young boy. And I was like, hey, maybe there's something to this running thing. And so I started doing that. Middle school, I ended up winning a national cross country race in middle school. So it was like the best middle schooler. Went through junior nationals and went to the regionals and then nationals, and ended up winning one of those races. So it's like, geez, I just could tell that God gave me a talent that was just different. And that became a passion of mine and a mission. And what really is interesting about that is how God was training me, not only to be a dedicated athlete and how to train hard and work really hard and define a goal and then go after a goal. Those are really important things. But one of the other areas that was really impactful, especially now in my life, is nutrition. And you're like, nutrition, what the heck does that have to do with it? And why would I think about that as a young boy? I ended up reading a book called Eat to Win. And that book was really impactful in my running because I learned how to fuel my body, God's way through food, and how to prepare my body for I was a distance runner. So, obviously in distance running, the further you go, your body depletes all your energy, and you need the storage of energy to continue to do what you're doing. And I always, at the end of a race, I always had something extra. I always had extra oomph. And I attribute that to, one, my training, and God obviously giving me talent, but the nutrition aspect and how I was fueling my body gave me that extra energy when I needed it, at the end of a race, when you had to finish strong. And I always had a strong finish, and my competitors would get so mad. They're like, how does he always have something extra at the end? And so anyway, the nutrition became just a pillar of mine. And I, didn't tell people I was doing that. I just learned how to do that. And so obviously now get fast forward in life, and nutrition is a really big part of my story and mission and how I'm trying to help people. But so that's kind of the origin story from a running perspective. This is one of the things I excelled at, and I wanted to go and, I ended up having that as the goal, instead of wanting to go to college. I did go to college, but I went to college to run. I ended up went to a Division I school and got a full ride running scholarship at that school. And I went to this specific school because I wanted to be a professional runner, and they were training professional runners that were really good after college. And that was what was important to me, is not just to be really good in college, but to be really good after. So I went to a Division I college. I went to Brigham Young University, BYU, an LDS school. But I wasn't LDS at the time, but I went there because they were training athletes. So that was important to me. And we didn't have a lot of money as a family, so my mom and dad didn't have money to send me to college. But I got a full ride running scholarship, so I took it. I said, that's perfect. I want to go to this school. And then it was really fun. I was really on a upswing with my running. Things were going just fantastic. I ended up my second year in college. I ended up winning, or at least getting second at nationals for the 19 years and younger age group. So they call it the junior division of USA Track and Field. And so I was literally the second best miler in the country as a 19-year-old. And I barely got beat at the end of our national race. He just outleaned me at the end. But the fun thing about that is I did make the traveling U.S. team, so I got to represent the USA with singlets and sweats, and we went on an international tour in multiple countries and multiple races. And one of the races in Canada, I ended up winning that race, and I beat the best runners from 6 different countries. So, and I beat that young boy who had beaten me at our national cross country championships, or not at our national mile. I was a miler. That was what I did in college. And so anyway, the fun thing about that is man, I'd won that race. Everything was perfect. Life was going swimmingly well for me at that point in life. And then that winter, I was out on a training run. And on that training run, my life changed dramatically. My buddy and I were out on a 10-mile run in the middle of winter in Utah. It was snowy and cold and icy, and the roads were slick. And out in the backcountry road, a 4x4 truck was coming behind us, and my buddy heard it and jumped into the ditch and yelled my name. And all I had enough time to do was just turn around and see this 4x4 truck sliding towards us, and towards me anyway. And I had no place to go, no time to move, just said, I'm going to get hit. I'm going to get hit. And this 4x4 hit me in the side of the hip and it launched me. It literally launched me 36 feet. And I landed straight on my face. And then my knees next. And it knocked me unconscious. So I'm laying in the side of the road, just a huge gashes all over my face. It was just bleeding like crazy. And I'm unconscious, laying on the side of the road, freezing cold and not breathing. So it was a really dangerous situation. And the Lord has blessed me because I survived that day. My friend was smart enough to come to me and evaluate me and realize that I was not breathing. I'd actually had a bloody nose earlier in the run, and that blood clogged my throat. And so they unclogged my throat, or he did. My friend unclogged my throat so I could breathe. So that at least allowed me to survive because the paramedics didn't get there for some time. And when they did get there, they woke me up and, with smelling salts. I'll never forget that. That was a really strange occurrence. If you're in, when you wake up and people are asking you, who the president is and what year it is and, questions like that, something's wrong, right? So I was like, what the heck is happening? I had no idea why I was there or what I was doing. And, but that accident changed me at my life, right? That was where I was on my way. Things were going great. And I call that the first truck that hit me. And what it did is a major change in my life. And the reason why I go through this story is I think it's just foundational. You understand a little bit more who I am as a person. I was a dedicated athlete. I worked my tail off to be the best, right? I wanted to be the best, period. In the world. I really wanted to make the U.S. Team. I wanted to run and represent the United States of America. So I had lots of passion for our country. I had lots of passion for being the best at something. And then all of a sudden, boom, in an instant, it's gone. And so I went through a really difficult period of time where I just was like, what the heck? Everything I'd been working for my entire life is gone. But thank goodness my brother was a great mentor of mine, and he helped me understand that school was important. So it helped me during my high school years as well as in college. I still did well in school. So I was able to fall back on my schooling, and I ended up getting my college degree, and I went into sales. I went into corporate sales with a technology company. I love technology. And, I did what the world tells you to do, right? The world tells you to get a college degree, you go get a job at a large corporation, and you build your 401k, and you find a wife, and you get married, and you have 3 children, and you buy a house with a white picket fence, and you get a dog. And I did that, all of that, and I did it well. But that I was just living my entire life from that perspective on, was all about me. It's like, how can I do a better job for my family? How can I get a better, paying job so that I can make more money, so that my kids can go to this school, and we can live in this house and this neighborhood. And it was all about just my little kingdom. Really look back on that now, and I can see how selfish that was. But that's just what I thought was what I was supposed to do, what the world kind of tells you, at least at my age group. That's kind of what the world tells you to do. And so that's what I did. And I became really, really good at it. But then as life happens, things change. And then what I call is the second truck that hit me. The second truck hit me while it was actually the pandemic. And what do you mean by that? Instead of a physical truck that hit me this time, it was a metaphorical truck. The pandemic had a really similar impact on my life as the first truck did. And so I ended up losing my sales job. I was a traveling salesperson at the time, so I needed to travel in order to do my job. I lived in Central Oregon, and to get to the other places, I'd have to fly, and I couldn't fly with the pandemic. So they downsized the sales team. And so it was like, well, first time in my life, I'd actually had time to kind of see what was going on in the world. And so then I was trying to, keep my family safe with the pandemic, right? Everyone was freaking out and scared about what's happening. How do we not get this virus that's going around the world? But the interesting thing, there was a couple things that were impactful there, but one of them that really changed my life was seeing the vilification of a doctor who was talking about vitamin D. And got this skill of research. So it's kind of a dual thing. One is I saw the vilification of this doctor, but then I started doing research on topics. And what really interested me about that particular case was the government was suing this doctor for multiple billions of dollars with a B. And I was like, wow, he must be a really bad dude. And so what's he talking about? He's like, okay, he's recommending vitamin D for people. And I was like, vitamin D? I was like, that's like from the sun, right? And so I was researching vitamin D. He's like, is that bad? What can that do to people if you take too much of it? Or why would that be bad? And the more research I did on vitamin D, I'm like, okay, vitamin D is just a normal vitamin. I don't see that as bad. The doctor must be really bad dude. He must have like skeletons in his closet. He might just be a bad guy. So I did a lot of research on him. I couldn't find anything bad. He was a holistic health practitioner who was really trying to help people live a natural life and do things holistically. And the more research I did, I just couldn't uncover anything that was super bad. So I'm like, what's the motivation, right? That's where my turn next is like, why are they suing him for billions of dollars? What's in it, and why are they? What are they either trying to prevent him from doing, and or what's the motivation? So started digging in a little bit there, and that's when my whole life got turned upside down as I did the research on the medical cartel, as I call it today. It's a really just you look at the healthcare system that we have today, and it's really it's upside down, right? It's a lot about money and profit rather than helping people at the core of what they're doing. So I will talk a lot about our healthcare system, and I don't want to talk bad about any individual, like nurses and doctors and the people that are in the system. They're not bad, right? And so I want to make sure you understand that I don't see them as bad people. But what I do see is I see a system that's corrupt and a system that has been hijacked and really taken over. And so the reason why I say that is because of the research that I uncovered. So I started digging in, and it's like, when I was researching this vilification of this doctor, and I uncovered two things that were super important. One is the foundation of the Rockefellers and what they did with the Flexner report way back in the early 1900s. That was really impactful, and we can talk a little bit about that. But then the other, at the same time, me as a person, I'd been a Christian growing up, but it was a Christian really in name only, in the respect that I would go to church on Sunday, and as soon as the door hit me in the butt, I didn't think about church until the next Sunday, sitting in the pew or whatever you call it. And so, but what I did during that period of time when I was doing all this research, one of the things I started researching was the Bible. And so that's really what ended up becoming my foundation as a Christian, was digging into whether or not I thought the Bible was true. And so all the research that I had done was just fascinating. I did research on the archaeology evidence in the Bible. I did it on the textual criticism of the Bible, and you do the prophetic evidence in the Bible, and you look at those three things, and the actual Bible itself is really hard to dispute. Once you dig into those three areas and do a deep dive on it, it's like, oh my gosh, so if this book is authentic, then maybe I should read it, right? So I ended up going through, and I've read it a number of times now. I've listened to it a number of times, and now I'm in deep study with the Bible, something you can do for decades. But what's interesting is, I started my faith, really a true faith journey then, but in parallel, I was doing all this research on these important topics, and the healthcare system and the broken healthcare system was part of that. So the reason why I'm mentioning all of this is important, because it's developed me to be the person that I am today. And instead of being the athlete that I thought I was going to be, or the business person that I thought I was going to be, now I've become this faith-based wellness advocate. And it's like, what the heck? How in the heck do you become a faith-based wellness advocate in this world? And so, but I wanted to give you kind of just a background of myself, so that you kind of give a little bit of insight into me. And so I can go into details on all of those, and you'll probably hear me talk about many stories as we go through other episodes, and as you hear more details to my story. But I kind of want to give you that foundation so you give you a little bit of idea of why it's important. So let me just continue that a little bit to get you a little closer to today and why I'm doing BiohackingVille. One of the things, as I was going through this health transformation, a couple of things happened. One is during my corporate career, I was addicted to alcohol. And so I literally drank alcohol every day for 20 plus years, every single day. Wasn't like 6 days a week or 5 days a week. It was every day. But I was a very highly functional alcoholic in the respect that I had a full-time job. I did really well on my job, and I didn't drink, in bad situations. I just did things. I was a highly functional alcoholic. So that was an interesting part of my story, is because I am now 7, almost 8 years sober now. And I'm super excited about that, because it's just transforming my life. But I want to just tell you these important things about me so you understand who I am and how I became the person that I am today. So as I was going through this transformation, learning about health and wellness, and then as part of that journey, when I was researching the healthcare system and trying to keep my family safe, what was important is I leaned back on that original training that God had done for me as a young boy about nutrition, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, there's all these things that are scary about what's happening in the world. I want to make sure my family's safe. So I started doing all this research on how do we get the right nutrients in the body to get us to stay safe from this virus that's coming out. And so I was researching all these things. And as I told you, I was researching the Bible. So I was reading the Bible all the time, and I was researching all the biblical ingredients in the Bible. And that became important to me as well. And so as I was doing the research on the Bible and health, and just fascinated with both of those. And so that ended up being transforming for my life, as I ended up stopping alcohol, and I transformed my health, and that became much more of the person that I am today. And I was like, how can I help other people through this process, right? How do I save my family? And so I was creating solutions and trying to find solutions to problems. And the first thing that I got introduced to, I was creating some supplements, and I was working with a formulator, and he came to me and said, have you ever heard of quantum energy? I was like, quantum what? No, I haven't heard of quantum energy. And I've heard of quantum computing because I was in the technology field for my career, but never heard of quantum energy. And so he introduced me to this, what I call the mad scientist. And this mad scientist has been working on this technology for 30 years. And what it is, he puts it's got these little crystalline structures that he puts on top of these skin patches. And then these little crystalline structures he can program with information. And he can program frequencies on there and intentions and Bible verses and other things. I'm just like, what? Give me a break, right? I literally thought it was stupid. I'm like, come on, you're not going to put a piece of paper on my body, AKA a sticker, and it has no medicine in it. It's going to help me do anything. I thought was silly. But I did what I started to learn how to do, research, right? I'm like, okay, I'm going to prove this guy wrong, right? This guy's nuts. I'm going to go learn about the human body and how it interacts with energy, how it interacts with frequencies. I didn't understand what frequencies were, so I did a lot of research on what frequencies are. And man, it was fascinating what I ended up finding, right? I ended up finding that the human body is made up of energy, and that the human body actually interacts with other frequencies and interacts with other things that I didn't understand either. And I found out that the human body, even down to our cellular level, our cells interact with each other via vibration. And those vibrations give off, guess what? A frequency. And then that frequency sounded like a super weird term to me, but then I realized that frequencies are everywhere. The cell phone you use uses frequencies. The radio, right? You tune the radio to a different frequency to listen to the different station. And then I started to understand, okay, frequencies aren't weird, they're everywhere. And then I saw research about how our body can actually interact with these frequencies. Then his little patches became not so strange. I was like, oh, interesting. So that's technically how it works. And then we did some tests with a community of people that we knew, and they really were impacted by the benefits of these patches. So that became my really big passion early on, was like, okay, gosh, I've got these amazing solutions that are helping people with different areas of health. It was like inflammation and pain allergies and just lots of cognitive issues and things that were really important problems that people were having. And I had a solution. So I created a company, and we started building solutions around that. Then, as I mentioned, I was reading the Bible all the time. I was reading all these amazing ingredients in it, and that foundation of nutrition and health that I had. I'm like, I want to create a solution that heals people, right? How can I find something that helps people? So I was trying to find these solutions, and I found amazing herbs and supplements in the Bible, but nothing that was just like super special or different, right? There was frankincense on the market. There's myrrh on the market. There's barley grass. There's wheatgrass. There's all these different things that are mentioned in the Bible, but I couldn't find a special combination. I just kept praying and trying to find something that was really going to make a difference. But then God is good. God led me to this practitioner who had been working with molecular hydrogen, or at least a hydrogen blend that when it interacts with the body, your body creates hydrogen. And then I was doing research on what hydrogen does inside the body. And then I'm like, okay, well, how does this how does it deal with what I'm interested in, which is natural health? And I found out that hydrogen is the base element, right? It's the smallest element that God created. So I thought that was intriguing, that God would be using this small element that he did create. And if you can get that inside the human cells in your bloodstream, and I started researching what that does, and it acts as a master antioxidant within the blood, which is super cool, because what it does is it goes and finds the sentient cells, or the zombie cells, some people call them, which are just the cells that are dying or have died off, but they're still hanging around, right? And when you get a collection of those, guess what that becomes? That becomes cancer. And so you want to get rid of those sentient cells or zombie cells in the body. And that's what molecular hydrogen does. It goes and finds those zombie cells and extracts them from the body. But then it also works with the mitochondrial process, which is the energy system in the body, and helps it get better. It helps it do better. So it gets rid of the bad stuff and helps the good. So the base of molecular hydrogen is super cool. And so then we took the best 7 biblical ingredients that I had been working on that gives people things that they're deficient in, and we added molecular hydrogen into it. We created a company called Exodus. Exodus Strong is the name of the company, and Exodus was the name of the product, or is the name of the product. It's one of the best, supplements that you can get. A lot of the practitioners are using this product as the foundation. When they meet with a patient, they'll say, hey, we're going to try to help you, but first start taking Exodus, because this is going to give you the base, right? And then we can start defining the issues that you have and see if we can't help you get better. So that's been really fun, because I've got now these skin patches that help people with frequencies. And then we have a health product that's helping people at the foundational level with their health. So that became who I was as a person. I'm just going through this transition of how I can help people. And then what's really crazy is my health journey just transitioned in the respect that I'd had a heart issue when I was a young runner called bradycardia. And it's just a slow beating heart. So a lot of people attributed that, because I was such a high level athlete and high level runner, that they kind of just attributed it to my running. It's like, well, you have a slow beating heart because your heart is in such good shape. So for decades, I lived like that, and I didn't think much about it. And then about a year and a half ago, I go to the doctor just for the normal checkup. And the doctors, they checked my pulse, and the nurse came back, and it's like she grabbed the pulsometer or whatever she put on my finger, and she went and got a different one, put it on my finger. And she's like, something's wrong with this. She was like checking the batteries in that thing. She's like, it's in the 30s. And my heart rate was literally in the low 30s. And she was freaking out. She's like, I've never seen that on anybody that's walking around. And so anyway, she made me do an EKG, and the EKG came back abnormal. And then the doctor met with the doctor. The doctor's, that doesn't, things aren't looking real good. We recommend you go see a cardiologist. So I went and saw a cardiologist. I did a whole full breakdown of my health, of my heart specifically. did a stress test and the echocardiogram and other things. And at the end of the day, that cardiologist says, you need a pacemaker. And I said, no. I was stubborn. I was researching all these natural solutions and meeting all these natural health doctors. And I said, I'm going to try to do it myself. So for a long time, over 6 months, I was trying to do things myself and get my heart better naturally. And so what's really intriguing is I ended up getting a cancer diagnosis. So I get melanoma. And then unfortunately, that melanoma spread. And that melanoma went from my ankle and then spread into my lymphatic system, into my groin area. And so it ended up being stage 3 melanoma. And if you do research on melanoma and melanoma that gets in the lymphatic system, is super dangerous. It can be very, very deadly, and it can spread like wildfire throughout the entire body. So very scary time in my life, but I think God gave it to me, or at least I got cancer, and it saved my life. It literally saved my life, and I'll tell you why. One is, as part of the cancer process, I had to get my dental work done. So one of the holistic practitioners I was working with said, hey, you need to go get rid of your root canals. You need to get rid of the metal. I had a lot of metal in my mouth from a youth. So had to get the mercury out of there. And so I went to Mexico and got a lot of dental work done. But the people down in Mexico would not do the dental work because my heart was so slow. They're like, we can't even put you under because your heart is too slow. So I had to go see another cardiologist in Mexico. And that cardiologist says, you need a pacemaker. And I said, no. And so anyway, I signed my life away in Mexico to said, do the dental work regardless. And they did. And thank God I survived that. But came home from that experience and saying, okay, I've got 2 doctors that told me to get a pacemaker. I still said no. And I still tried to do things my way. But then I met with my oncologist here in the States, and the oncologist says, gosh, your tumors are bad. And my legs started swelling up because the lymph nodes were plugging up, and my legs was getting really swollen, and it was becoming a really big problem. And so they said, we may need to do surgery on your cancer. And I was like, well, that sucks, right? I didn't want that. And, but I'm trying to do things holistically, and I'm learning how to work with the U.S. medical system and the standard of care for cancer versus holistic cancer care. And man, I'm learning a lot, and I'm excited to share with people how I've navigated that. But what was interesting is they said, we may need to do surgery on that. So we can't do surgery on you because your heart's too slow. So guess what? Number 3, third cardiologist I go to. I go to that cardiologist, and guess what? Recommend I get a pacemaker. And so finally, Rob says, okay, I get it. I'll go get a pacemaker. And then just a crazy story of my life is I literally was on the operating table to get the pacemaker put in, and my heart failed during that operation. So what had happened up until that point, my heart was failing and was continuing to fail. By the time they actually admitted me to the hospital to do the surgery, my heart rate was at 27. So it was like super, super slow. And a couple of times the weeks leading up to that, I'd almost fainted just sitting on my couch. And literally on the way to the hospital that morning, I was driving, and I almost fainted driving. So my heart, unbeknownst to me, was failing, and I didn't know it. Yet I'm on the operating table, and my heart does fail. And so literally I was dying on the operating table, but I was there with heart specialist, and heart specialist were there to put a pacemaker in, and they put the pacemaker in to get my heart beating again and save my life. And so reason why I believe that I got cancer, because I would not have gotten my heart fixed if I would not have gotten cancer. I would have just continued to try to do things myself, and I would have been stubborn, and I would have died on the side of the road somewhere because I wouldn't have gotten my heart fixed. And so glory to God, and that I am alive, that I'm here to do this. So I say that everything I've set up to now is why I'm doing what I'm doing today, is because I know God has a plan for me, for my life, to help other people. It has nothing to do with me making money, has nothing to do with me making a job or making a podcast or creating solutions for people. It's like I am 100% driven by knowing that I have an impact that I need to make in this world, because God has saved me. Literally, there are 4 different times in my life I've almost died. Right, the accident with the first truck was a big one. Had 2 other instances when I was young where I almost died, and then literally the heart one was the 4th. It was like just a few months ago that happened, and so I just have this desire and passion to make an impact in this world, because there's no other reason that I'm here. He has me still here on this earth to make an impact, so I have to make an impact. And so I just, working my tail off, going, Lord, what is it? What can I do? How can I do it? What do you want me to do? And he's just trained me. Everything he's done in my entire life is to do what I'm doing today. What I'm doing to talk to you today about this is BiohackingVille and my strategy to help people. And so with that, I want to share with you kind of the arc of the 3 episodes that I'm going to do that are going to start this whole BiohackingVille strategy that I'm working on. BiohackingVille is the podcast, but let's look at this. These slides. So this is called the Genesis arc, and the reason why is because this is the beginning. Right? This is the starting of BiohackingVille. And so if we look at what I'm going to be doing, the first episode is going to be a lot more details around. Let me see if I can get to that. Yeah, I'm not launching a podcast. I want to ignite a movement, and I want to ignite this movement around the 3 different pillars. Right, I am a faith-based person. Right, so I am going to base everything on my foundation of faith. That's just who I am. And so that's who I'm going to be, and that's what I'm going to present to the world is a faith-based underpinning. But I love technology, right? I spent 25 years selling enterprise technology, learning things. I was in at IBM when Watson, which is one of the first AI solutions ever built. I was literally working with that division. I almost was a part of that division. I tried to get into that division and ended up being denied, which was a huge blessing, actually, that I did not get into that division when I was trying at the time. But I have this passion for technology and understanding how technology can be a really positive impact on the world. But then I just have this warrior mindset where it's like, I have to win. I'm so competitive. I love to compete and I love to win. And I want to just make a difference. And what I'm going to be doing is taking that trilogy, all 3 of those pillars, into what I call a faith-based AI wellness, because AI and wellness I've been trained on, right? I love AI. I love wellness. Yet there's a lot of things with AI that can be bad. Because if you put garbage in, you get garbage out. And man, all the corruption I learned about in the healthcare world, how Big Pharma takes research and gets research done specifically for what they want, not necessarily because it's going to help people. There's a lot of bad data in AI, and there's a lot of bad data in the science world. So we need to understand, and I need to help people decipher that. I need to help people understand that we have an amazing temple. God gave us this incredible temple, and we only have one of them, so we got to take care of it. And this amazing temple that we have, we can do so much better with. And so I want to help people understand how to use this modern science with AI and modern technology, but you still use the foundation of this temple that God gave us, right? And then just be very, very passionate about how I'm building this, and then just help people navigate that. I believe that's why God has me on this earth. So if we can go to the next slide. I don't know if I do that here. There we go. So this is there. I'm going to talk about two different people. One, like Mark, the Christian leader in crisis. He's one that I really want to dedicate time to because I was he, right? I was this person who was lost. I respect that I had this mission and vision, and I was very dedicated, but it was all about me. It wasn't helping other people, right? And I just felt that, at the end of the day, I felt like a shadow of my former self. I was just doing stuff, but there was very little meaning behind it. And then we'll talk later about Sarah, right? Sarah is a wonderful woman, right? And Sarah is smart. She has kids. She has a full-time job because most people do nowadays, right? Most women have a job. They also have children. And she feels like unseen because she's working her tail off. Her husband's busy. She's busy. The kids are busy. And she's lost her identity and what's happening. And I want to help bring that back and give her back her identity. I want to give Mark his identity. I want to let people understand how we can operate this mind, body, spirit connection together to help us navigate this crazy world that we live in. And I'm uniquely qualified to help with that. So, I want to go from this. There's two parts to this modern leader, right? One of them is this soulless biohacking is what I call it. So the biohacking is super cool, right? I love cold plunging. I love sauna therapy. I love all these fun things, and I'm learning about biohacking because I think it's really impactful and important to how we can improve this human existence and body that we have, which is super fun. But I also think that we have the other side of that, which is just passive faith. It's like, I'm just going to pray about my health and I'm going to expect it to get better. And I think that's also wrong because I think there's, faith without action is nothing. So we need both, right? You need to understand how the human body works. And you also need to have faith. You need to integrate the two. So that's what I'm going to be doing. The episode 1 we're going to delve into next time is like the third way, right? It's like what I call about using biohacking and using faith and doing it in a way that you can combine them. And it's going to be super exciting. So the vision, requires more than just hope. It requires trust, right? Trust that God created this human temple of ours, and we're going to be good stewards of it. Then I'm going to go into the second episode is going to talk about is Daniel's algorithm. So all this technology and stuff that I'm learning, I'm going to be putting it into this BiohackingVille OS, this operating system where I'm going to help people understand how to utilize technology to help this temple of ours. It's going to be super, super cool what I'm putting together. And then, the third episode is going to be specifically talking about this new solution that I'm building that's kind of a base wedge into people's life. It's about fasting and having accountability during the fasting so you can get the mind, body, spirit working together, but you have a foundation of people that you love and support that are going to help you through it. Because 93% of people that start fasting fail because they don't follow through. And so I'm fixing with technology, going to fix those things and kind of combine this mind, body, spirit connection and where we're headed. So that's what I'm super, super excited about, right? I want to take us from God's design. It is post-traumatic growth, right? We ground our emotional journey in science, showing that transformation is a biological reality. And talk about how important our mind is. So this trilogy is really going to talk about a complete transformation in people. And that's really what I want to do. And that's what my mission is. So I'm super excited about the BiohackingVille community that we're going to be putting together. That's going to have all these resources available to you. And then we're also going to have this rescue loop, which is the first product that Wedge is going to be a fasting tool that's going to help you get through fasting. There's intermittent fasting. There's just faith-based fasting. There's other things that are going to help us with our temple. And that's the whole component that I'm going to be building and talking about that. So really, we're running out of time. But I just want to talk about, biohacking is in BiohackingVille is important. And I'm super excited to be leading this journey. I really want you to believe. I want you to biohack and then become the person that God gave you. Remember, if you have air in your lungs today, God has a plan for your life. Believe, Biohack, Become.
Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Join the community and get the show notes at biohackingville.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at BiohackingVille. Until next time, believe, biohack, become.